about the handbooks, so I was saying that one important thing is to look at the information, or when you are looking for something in particular, like to prepare a class or to find a new game or to know how to handle a specific group. But also what I would say for now is to have a look also at the first pages of the handbook, The Freedom to Choose, where you can read a little bit more about the history of ESD, about the difference between ESD and other disciplines, especially martial arts or traditional self-defense, so that it is like background information that it's important in order to understand also the logic of why we do the things the way we do the things, why we do the things the way we do it. Does that make sense? Okay, so today we will look at the content of the program that we use. So last time we looked at the ESD pedagogy, it was more the method, and now we will go a little bit deeper when it comes to each principle. What is and how can we explain, or how do we work with the group under each principle, okay? This will help you review, if you want, the class plans. So again, the class plans was an invitation for you in order to use this time better. And by doing something, you are able to make your own reflections, your own research, like looking for the activities or looking for the game or finding some videos, etc. So the idea of putting some deadline is just with the purpose of helping each other so that we can organize our time and that you can make the most out of this process. So I'd like to start with the presentation that I've prepared this time. Let me see where we are. Okay. And please feel free to interrupt me if you have any questions or comments. We can stop, explain, and then continue. And now I have to find the Zoom here. Okay. Let's see. So this time, the title I've chosen is How to Build the Blocks of ESD, Understanding and Teaching the 5 Principles. So the blocks of ESD are referred to the different themes combined. And by that, I mean like concepts, principles, techniques that we want to teach, and so on. So this is just an example. One can add more or can use only a few. But what we have is like pieces that we put together. So for instance, situational awareness, setting boundaries and saying no, how to do drills and combination of techniques, group discussions and circles. So there are different parts that we put together, and we have an ESD program. And the ESD program, as we've said, can be for a different number of hours. It can be from 2 hours or 90 minutes to 12 or 16, or even more, like we are having the program in schools where during the 6 months, the teachers are gathering the ESD club for the kids, and they have an extensive program with like 40 hours of 45 minutes teaching ESD to the students that participate in these clubs. So it can be very extended or it can be very short, depending on how much time you have available and the interest that the group has. Now, what do we have? We have the 5 pillars that are the 5 principles. We've seen the 5 principles from the very first session. And these are like the most important pillars around which we develop the content for the ESD program. I will go through each principle and explain how, with examples, what and how do we do we transfer our knowledge and skills to the students? And then after the tables, we will have one or two, again, examples with concrete activities or games that show what exactly do we teach. So when it comes to think, we've seen here that think, it means how to use your head, be present, listen to your intuition, notice what is going on and what you want to do, which in other words, it's how to make a situational assessment, paying attention to the red flags. And by that, we need to work on the awareness of the participants. Why is that important? Because many times when we talk about violence, participants associate it with physical violence and also associate it with sexual violence. But we know the spectrum of violence, which is much broader, and that's why we work with awareness and we work with the red flags. Why? Because we want to bring to the attention of the participants signs that many times are tolerated or are culturally accepted or justified, but in reality, those are indicators of abusive behaviors. So by bringing this information to them, we are working with their awareness, and therefore they will be able to be more present and mindful to those behaviors and be able to choose what to do next as a response. All right. So I divide the principal think in like 3 blocks, and that is awareness, 2 red flags, intuition, and situational assessment. So awareness is like only like detecting, knowing and detecting the red flags when it comes to behaviors. And for that, we can use activities that are related to mindfulness, breathing exercises. So it can be games. We have the catch game. We have the traffic lights or colored mats, as it's called in the manual. We have another game which is called Dirty Clothes, because these are situations that are from safe to abusive, and participants put them in a certain order. So these are dynamic games or dynamic activities that increase the participation of the participants, and they are able to discuss later on and exchange information, and then also maybe bring experiences or share stories from their day-to-day life in order to discuss and to increase this level of awareness to the abusive behaviors. Another set of activities is using role plays and simulations. And as notes, you can also use, of course, sharing statistics when it comes to violence, when it comes to the forms of violence, information you can share, and so on. So this is about awareness and the red flags. The second block is intuition. And when we want to work about intuition with our participants, we want to bring to their attention that it is important also to pay attention to this gut feeling, because for years, especially women, I mean, because women are also more intuitive, but we have been taught how to pay less attention to intuition. And so what we want through our games and activities and so on is to bring their attention that it is important to consider this gut feeling when we are doing a situational assessment, when we're using principle think, like, wait, what's going on? What's happening to me? But we also use that intuition we take it into consideration. Some of the games that we use there, it's a game that is called Follow Me. We explained it last time. Personal Space, it's a game with the 2 lines where one walks towards the other, and you can use it by instructing the participants to express with their body language and face expressions a certain attitude. So it can be aggressive behavior or aggressive attitude, can be peaceful and joyful attitude, or it can be neutral. So they can decide, and then based on that, the other person that is receiving the partner that's walking towards him or her can decide whether wants to set a boundary or wants, for instance, to give a hug or wants to shake hands. So these are one variation of the game called Two Lines or Personal Space. Another game we use for intuition, it's what we call blind monkey in the middle. Maybe you know it from other disciplines, other activities, but it is the participants are in a circle, and then you have one of the participants in the middle with the eyes closed. You can use just eyes closed, or you can use something to close the eyes, and you put on the floor close to the person, you put, for instance, a pair of keys, or you put a pen or something, an object, a small object. And then while the person keeps the eyes closed, somebody from the group has to go and take the object without making noise. So it is a little bit of feeling. It is also using other, like hearing, for instance, to know about the noise and so on. And the person in the middle has to make a gesture with a hand if he or she knows where the person is coming from. You can combine games and the activities to discuss about intuition. And it's very important how this can like open a new window for the participants. The situational assessment, it's more not only identifying the red flags, but it's also considering like what kind of situation, how safe, uncomfortable or dangerous is a given situation. And the traffic lights is the typical game for that. But you can also use, for instance, Save the Balloon game, which is a game where the students are divided in teams, and they have to, each group has a balloon, and then the group has to save the balloon of the group, but also go to steal or pop the balloon of the other group. So these are small games, but that help because there you can discuss about strategy. You can discuss about how during the game they had maybe to use different skills that they had not planned, or different strategy that they had not planned. So how it's about adaptability, it's about using strengths, like if they give the balloon to the tallest of the team, or if they make a strategy to use their strong points as a team to protect their balloon, and that you associate it with how in the day-to-day, when we have a situation of conflict, we rely on our strongest points in order to respond to this situation in the safest way possible. There are many games that we can use for Think, but here are just some examples. And another method is using the role plays. And the role plays, there are many different forms. We talked about role plays in our last session. Usually in this kind of, for principle Think, what we want is to give to the participants an opportunity to make the assessment for specific situations. And these situations can be printed and you have them ready so that they just read and then they participate in the role. Or you give them time to prepare a role play, and the situations they bring are situations that they want to discuss, can be real situations or hypothetical situations. So that's the idea of the role plays. What we also want to bring into the attention when talking about Think and situational assessment is to share knowledge about the way predators respond and think. And that is very important for awareness, and they're very important for choosing how to respond. Like, am I using verbal skills? Am I using de-escalation skills, principle run? Or do I need to fight, or do I need to tell? So depending on the situation. And information about the way predators respond and think. Again, these are also some small chapters that you can find in the handbooks. in order to raise awareness, one of the games we use or activities we use is one called Myths and Facts. So we have the students in one or in two lines, and for every paragraph we read, they have to change or not change sides, depending on what do they consider. If they consider that what I read is a myth, or if what I read is a fact. So if it is true, for instance, my instruction can be that if it's a myth, you have to go to the other side of the room. And if it's a fact, then you stay where you are. You can decide how do you want to play it, but the idea is that they pay attention, but they also move when discussing and when responding regarding this paragraph. And also at the end, you can discuss thoroughly or you can give the right answer when it comes to myths and facts. So this is an example, and these are some of the tools that we don't have them all in the manual, but if there is interest, you can ask me and I can send them to you. So this, for instance, is myth and reality. So you read the paragraph that is myth, and then you give more information to the students or to the participants when it comes to what the reality is. Okay? And these are good points for discussion as well. One option is also to use this separately in an opening circle or in a closing circle, or in a moment you want to have the group more calm and just to discuss and not necessarily being very active. You can choose one question and you can discuss that question, and that's another way to use the same information. Another game is, we explained this last time, but this is good for Principal Think, and it is very good also for the first sessions when you are working with a group. That is the Follow Me game that, like we said, you do it in 3 rounds. The first one, they clap hands and say ho. The second round, they make funny faces. And the third round, they set a boundary and say stop. And this is a very good introduction to the ESD because you're explaining the spectrum of violence, safe, number one, uncomfortable, number two, and then red or dangerous, number three, where you have to be firm and setting a boundary. So you can, by this game at the end, you can connect it to the spectrum of violence. You can pass on with the traffic lights. You can explain, if you want, also how the way I answer, I respond to certain behaviors changes, green, yellow, red, and how my response when it comes to self-defense techniques changes if it's yellow or if it's red. So these are things that you can explain and you can discuss also with the participants. This is the traffic light or the colored mats game, which we have with the 3 colored mats, what I just said, green, yellow, and red. And there are many ways to play it. One is giving the situations to each participant and they read it in a loud voice and then they put it where they consider. Another way is that they write the situations. And another way is that you read the situations and they vote with their feet. So I'm giving you 3 variations because sometimes you have very little time and you want to save maybe more time for, let's say, physical techniques like the agenda you had, Tamsin. If you consider that with this group, you need to work more the physical techniques. If you have a game, you do it in like a short version which allows you to bring the issues into the attention of the participants, but you don't need to spend maybe a lot of time playing or explaining. So that's up to the instructor because who knows the group better than you? So that's why every recommendations or suggestions that another ESD instructor like me in this case can give you are only suggestions from my general knowledge from that group, but you know that particular group. You will see them, you'll know their names, you will know their backgrounds, and you are the only one who can make the right choice. What program do you want to prepare for them? Yeah. So this is an important exercise, the traffic lights exercise, and we also recommend it to have it in every program. For every group that you teach, we want at least to give to them this explanation about the spectrum of valence and how do we divide the three colors, because these remain, there are some people that are very visual as well in their learning. So this is a beautiful and important exercise for the situational awareness and assessment.
Gentiana, just quickly on the traffic light game,
Yes.
do you have a couple of examples of a situation you might write?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I have several lists because I have, well, some of the lists are in the manual. You can also find them there. But for the case of Albania, because of the program we have with schools, we also prepared two lists that are a little bit different, which is one for kids from 6th to ninth grade, and then from ninth grade to 12th grade. And then we have the lists that are in the handbook. But again, I will take note actually, because so maybe you'd like to have the myths and facts, if I'm right, the one that I showed before, and then this list of the for the traffic light situations. Yeah?
Yeah, both would be really helpful, especially because sometimes I teach different age groups, and
Yes.
yeah, some for secondary school age would be really useful because there'll be different situations that they face compared to, for example, my Muslim women's group,
Right.
um, where it's more domestic type of abuse.
Right. And
Yeah.
also, we have another set of situations that are for role plays, for boundary setting. So I will take note of that as well and put them all in one email.
Oh,
Okay,
thank you.
thank you. All right, so if there are no more questions, we can continue with principle yell. So when we say yell and we have use of voice, saying no, setting boundary, etc., etc. So this again, if I need to divide it in blocks, because I want to make sure that I teach this principle accordingly. So throughout different exercises, including through if I'm teaching physical techniques, I always have the 5 principles in mind, okay? And I see how to guide the students accordingly. So if they are, for instance, learning how to strike, I cannot forget, I have to remind them how to use their voice correctly, why it's important to use their voice correctly, and so on. So I combine the information and I make sure that they are working not only on the physical, but also on the verbal skill in this case, like yelling no or something else. So 3 blocks, it is to work assertiveness. And under assertiveness, I have voice and body language. There are many activities that we use, be it as a warm-up. If we're doing warm-up, we also do warm-up for our voice, and that can be uh, different formats. You can also come up with your format. For instance, it can be the alphabet, where you start the A very low, and then you go up, 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 and then you start putting your volume down to the Z at the end. Or you can choose the word no. There are different exercises that you do with the word no. For instance, what we call the orteku, the avalanche. No, what is the word in English? Can you help?
Avalanche, yes, you're right.
Okay. So that one starts with a small no, like this, and then it goes bigger no, and then bigger no, and so on. And we pass it from one to the other in a circle. So it's also a fun game, but it helps also to warm up our voice. Um, I'll show you another game later on. We have other games, such as the 2 lines, the one I mentioned before. So when we do the ready stance, we use the no as well. And that is, for instance, combining, but it helps to work the body language and also the voice. There are other circles that we do and practice voice and assertiveness, the way we stand, the way we look at the other person in the eye. There is information what makes an assertive communication. So you have their tips how to be assertive in your communication. This is in the handbook as well. And for instance, if there is a game that we play, I love you, but I won't smile. So the other person is resisting and not smiling, which is something that we sometimes want to bring it in our class. There is another one called Let Me Out circle, where people are in a circle and then there is one participant that has to face one from the group and standing in an assertive position, not aggressive nor submissive, has to say, looking in the eye, um, being very clear, and the tone of voice, it's neutral but is strong and confident, and saying, let me out. So I'm not saying please, I'm not saying, can you let me out? I'm not smiling necessarily. I'm not having my hands in my pocket. So I see and I can give tips as instructor so that they can work the different elements for an assertive communication. There are several games in the handbook. So again, here are just some examples. And the idea is that we work with these elements to combine the use of voice also with the physical techniques, like strikes, but also, for instance, when we're doing the release, when we are doing even kicks, or when we are any kind of techniques. We always encourage the participants to use their voice as they are striking or releasing and so on. The second block is saying no, and that is as a specific thing to do because it's one of the biggest challenges, especially for women. So the more they practice saying no in our trainings, the easier it is for them to practice later on in the real life. And on purpose, we want a clear, blunt no. There are many variations to how to say no. We can give it as a secondary information, but we want to practice saying no as a way to help them to set boundaries in their day-to-day. So again, there we give tips for confident body language while saying no. There is also bullet points information in the handbooks, but giving the explanation, giving the guidelines how to be in an assertive how to communicate assertively, and practicing it in games or in activities, it's very important. So that's why we want to have some balance between what is verbal skills and physical techniques. Some of the games, it's circle of refusal, is the follow me, which we saw before. There is another game with the pool noodles that it's very good for boundary setting, saying no, and body language. Also, the word catch can be by saying no, and you will see the video now, the photos now, and it's very important that you have the saying no in your class. So if you have a group for only 3 hours, please make sure that you have at least like a specific moment where you are talking about how important it is to say no and why, and how you instruct them to practice it in your class. The third block is setting boundaries that we usually do with the circle of refusal, role plays, and simulations. And in that case, the communication formula is very important. And it's a way to put together now the content of what do we say with what we've practiced earlier, which is voice and body language. So the communication formula, we said last time, it has 3 parts. Describe the situation, say how you feel, and say what you want from the other person. What is an example here? An example is, let's say somebody is bothering me because this person is staying really, really close and I simply don't like it. So how do I communicate this? It's to say, first I describe the situation. I say, you're staying very close to me right now. I don't feel comfortable with it. Take some distance. Easy, simple, and clear. That's what we want. We don't want to blame the other person right away. We don't want to yell at him or um, to say other unnecessary words to him as a person. We focus on the behavior, and that's why we want to put a name to the behavior. For instance, if somebody is touching my hair, instead of saying don't do that, like we are maybe many times used to say, we put a name to the behavior. You're touching my hair, right? And it bothers me. Stop touching it. Okay? So it can be just like these examples, and it helps to set a boundary with the other person. Of course, there are more elements you can add, but that deserves a different session. I have a whole presentation for online class when it comes to communication, especially for situations in the workplace. And I can share more information as we make progress in our learning sessions. But for now, this is like the three core elements of the communication formula. Is there any question?
One quick one, and
Yes.
it's just a really small one.
Yes.
You're taking one of those examples that you've just given, Gentiana.
Yes.
Would you avoid using the word please? As in, please step away.
In the class, I purposely we avoid the word please because that's something that we are sure that participants can do. And they are free to do it whenever they feel like.
Mm.
But what we want them to practice is something that typically it's more challenging for them. And it is to be direct and it's to be straightforward in their communication. Because you can say please the first time, but if the other person is not respecting your boundary, second time I would skip the please and I would be more demanding with my tone of voice and more assertive in the way I'm speaking, right? So I would start only with these three, and then later you can explain, or before you can explain that I'm sure you know how to say please and smile, and you can do all that anytime. But they have to decide. But what if you don't have a chance, or what if the behavior is so rude that you must be direct?
Yes, yes, that makes complete sense. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank
And here, what I'm saying with the role plays is that if you have situations that there is a boundary crossing, you can prepare situations, and then the participant can come up with a communication formula for that situation. So that is a way how to practice this communication skill. So a couple exercises when it comes to the use of voice. So we have this one, which is called no, and the idea is to use the voice, the volume of the voice increasing and decreasing. That is, you put the two lines, the participants in two lines, and they have these small beanbags that they can throw to each other. And every time they throw, they say no. And again, they can start with a small no, and then they can go with a very high no, and then go again down. It's good because it's a group exercise, so they are less timid to yell, because sometimes participants are a bit timid to yell. And later you can also discuss, or you can focus instructing them how the voice should come up, in meaning like from where does the voice comes out? Is it from the bottom of the belly, or is it chest, or is it throat? What we are looking for is to come from the very down from the belly, and it helps them to work with their voice and see that because in different situations we need to use different volume. So this is one exercise. It's also good as an icebreaker, as an exercise. The other is, remember I said the role plays and the communication formula. So if we had to, let me see the time. If we had to say now that there is, can you, each of you, choose a situation where there is a boundary crossing and you come up with your communication formula. So I would do it as a circle, okay? So for instance, Tamsin, you bring up a situation for Linela. Let's say Linela has taken something from your desk without your permission. What would you tell her?
Okay, so you've taken my pen. I'd like it back, please. Oh, I said the word please. It's so
Yeah.
automatic. It's so automatic.
I know. Yeah, don't worry.
Okay, you've taken a pen from my desk. I need it. I feel uncomfortable that you have just invaded my space without asking. I'd like it back.
Yes.
I'll think about it.
Okay. Linela, would you go next?
Okay.
You choose a situation.
Yes. You are grabbing me by the shoulder, and I feel disrespected, and I want you to let me go.
Okay. Okay. Lina, would you like to go next? Lina, hello. Catalina?
Uh, Hi, can you see me?
Yes.
In this particular situation, I will just turn around and remove the hand without even saying anything. Just have like a strong kind of stance.
Okay.
And I don't think any words are necessary.
Okay. Choose another situation where you can use words.
Um, oh, well, let's see. Maybe a grocery store situation
Perfect.
where you're being, I guess, waiting in line and somebody just rudely steps in front of you.
Okay. What would you say?
What would I say?
Yeah.
I would definitely not say excuse me. I used to say excuse me all the time, but people in Moldova and Romania just don't get that word. They just think that you're this mouse if you say excuse me. I would say I was standing here before you.
Uh-huh.
And that's it. And just you know how you say the situational hazard, I guess yellow, green, yellow, and red. I
Yeah.
would just position myself as a yellow at this point.
Yeah, I would do the same. So,
Thanks.
what did this person do first?
First of all, I feel like some people tend to disregard the fact that priority in this situation in particular came to the one that was there first.
Okay.
And they think sometimes that because of their, I don't even know, upbringing, maybe they're male, maybe it's the age, but I feel like none of this should matter when you are choosing to respect some rules that are there for a reason.
Yeah. So as we see, so we are a small number of people here, and we need sometimes we need to explain things in a certain way that makes sense to the whole group.
Okay.
Because we come from different backgrounds, and like you're saying, what you're saying about Moldova, I would say about Albania as well, when it comes to how being very polite or very respectful can be taken as a weakness.
Yeah.
And that is how we have to be very sensitive to the different cultures, where the group is coming from, what's their age, what's their background, etc., etc. And many times when we are discussing about the communication formula, we are we are working on an exercise, but not always the participants respond the same way. So how do we manage the group? It is our responsibility as instructors. And how clear we are, again, it's something that we should work on. If the first time doesn't work, we go back for the second time and so on until we see that the participants are improving their communication skills. And
Yeah.
when we are doing the circle for the communication formula, what I need to give is I start with very simple situations. My preferred game is that I give clear, like to pull the t-shirt, touch hair, stay close. And this is easier for them to start understanding what do I need as an instructor from them when using the formula. So you are pulling my t-shirt, it bothers me, stop doing it. It's easier for them to answer. Or you're touching my hair, like I said before, or you're staying too close, and so on. When I give the free situations like I did now, what I have to make sure is that there is clarity that first, the person, the student, the participant needs to put a name to the behavior. So if there is someone in the grocery store that puts, let's say himself, let's say he's a man, puts himself in front of me, how do you say this? Parado. What did he do exactly?
He passed the cue.
He passed the cue, right? So this is the behavior that I don't like or that it doesn't seem right to me. So I need to say this to him. I want to be clear and say, sir, you just passed the cue, for instance. Second, I tell or not, it's optional, how I feel about this. Say, sir, you passed the cue and I feel this is not right. I want you to step back and respect everybody that is waiting here. Okay, so these are the three elements that we are practicing right now. There are situations where you just say, no, you're not passing here, this is my turn. Maybe it's yeah, you can do that. But right now, for the sake of practice, we want to practice the three elements. And that is like how we guide the group to make an effort and practice the three elements. And I tell you, this has been one of the best things I've learned from ESD myself when I talk to my children, when I talk to my colleagues, or when I talk to strangers. Because it helps me also not feel bad about setting this boundary because I focus on the behavior.
It's not like an attack to the person. It's basically like readdressing something that bothered you.
Right. And I'm not telling to him, you are so rude, for instance.
Yes.
Huh? So,
yes.
you know, so it's a good way to address what's going on.
I love the fact that you actually said that you use this in your daily life with your children and stuff because, yeah, nobody teaches us how to be like this. Like not to attack the person, but to attack or to reassess and readdress what they are doing.
Exactly.
I also like the fact that when you're talking about how you feel, it's very hard for the other person to say otherwise because they don't know you, they don't know how you're feeling. If you were to say you're a really nasty person, then they would say, no, I'm not. But say you are making me feel really uncomfortable, they can't say, no, I'm not.
No, I'm not.
They don't know.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? They
Totally.
don't actually know you.
Good point.
So it's a clever way, a very clever way of shifting it.
Exactly. Yeah. So I'm going to turn this light on just a sec. Okay, good. So let's continue. I love when we discuss about stuff. Principle run is the third, and run, we work the principle run throughout the different situations. having in mind that run is for physical distance, but is also for de-escalation. So depends how you want to treat it. In a training, we don't put so much effort, or we don't give so much time in specific activities for run. But we have it more incorporated in the different scenarios, in the different physical techniques and so on. Why? Because, for instance, if I'm teaching physical techniques, the principle is to neutralize or to disrupt that attack that is happening. And I have to run away, I have to go to safety as soon as possible. That's my objective. So even though I'm teaching a physical technique in that given case, what I am also using at the same time is principle run, because I want to instill in them how important it is to go to safety as soon as possible and not engage in a fight. Another way to combine it is okay, we work, no, let me not get carried out. So I'm focusing the three blocks that we are here written. So it's physical distance, we pay attention, we explain how important it is to keep this 2 meters physical distance as a way to help us read the situation, be able to respond in case there is an attack, and so on. We use games like the shin tag or clothespin game, and we'll see which one is that. We use a lot, we put emphasis in the running to safety, like what I was saying before. We pay attention to the principle of nonviolence, we explain what that is. Then there are some games, like with a long pool noodle. We do this, it's for martial arts as well, this game. Maybe Tamsin, you know it. Like the instructor has a pool noodle and goes like this from up, down, or horizontally and so on. And the student has to avoid it. It's good to work body language, it's good to do footwork, and is also combined it with that the person has to leave, like avoid and leave. And avoid is de-escalation, and leave again is de-escalation and run. So this is, for instance, one game. Then we have color tag. The instructor calls colors, and the participants have to find that color in the room and go and touch it. Then there is a chain tag. This is typical game, like we call it the net and the fish in Albanian, so that children play it a lot. They go hand to hand and they go tagging from the group, and then the one that is tagged join the net, and they have to go to catch everybody that is running around. So these are games that we use to explain principle run, and also to discuss later on over this principle as one of the three for the self-defense. The de-escalation part, we usually work it through the simulations, the role plays, and the physical techniques. And that there we have not only the typical physical techniques, but also what we call soft techniques. And I mentioned them last time, I think, but distraction, that is also verbal skills and speech. Then there is element of surprise, pinches, blowing on the perpetrator's face, washing the face, soft releases, and pressure points without causing pain. So these are some of the strategies that we can explain or we can practice with the participants, so that they see that the set of tools is really broad. So it is not only strikes and releases, but it's also all these ones that we've mentioned here. So it's communication skills, but also other soft techniques that are avoiding, that are distracting, etc., but all lead us to safety. So depending on the situation, they will be able to choose which is the best for them in that given moment for that perpetrator that they're facing. The clothespins game, it's one where, as you see in the picture here, we have one clothespin per person, and they put it in the back of the t-shirt, or another way is to put it here on the side of the sleeve, or here on the side, in case, depends what group are you working with. And then they have to catch from the other person as many clothespins as possible. All the instructions are in the handbook for this game and for all the other games that I'm explaining. And this is a very, very fun game. And with this game, actually, you can cover the 5 principles of ESD. You can use it as an icebreaker. You can use it as a way to explain the 5 principles of ESD, or specific concepts when it comes to weak points, strong points, how every person that is attacking at the same time is exposing himself, and those are the weak spots that the other can use. So it's through the games that information is received better, and it helps to be explained, and it helps people relax and have a good time and even laugh, and even maybe these guys were having such a good time and falling and everything. It was like really fun to play with them, and then they discuss about how they use different strategies, how when you lose your clothespins, you are less concerned, and then you are going for others in a more assertive way. And that connects to how, for instance, in the day-to-day, when we are concerned about things that are dear to us. For instance, you have many mothers who do not file a divorce or do not file a report for abusive relationship, because for the sake of their children, because they're afraid what will happen to their children, or maybe they are totally unprotected when it comes to finance and so on. So you can connect it to light situations or heavy situations, depending how do you want to lead the discussion, and how these strategies that you use in the games can be a good analogy with situations in the day-to-day. And it might sound a little abstract for you now, but when you try it and in the seminar you will be able to experience games, you will understand better. You will be able afterwards to lead your own games and to facilitate them accordingly. So this is just like to tell that this is happening, but once you also experience those in the seminar, you will fully understand, and you will be in a much, much better state to do it by yourself later on. The other one here, maybe you know this game. So the participants are one after the other, and the idea is that the first one has to tag the last one. So this is a good game for a run, but it can be used also for other principles, and it is also fun, and you can discuss. And this is also good, for instance, for bystander intervention, because you think that the battle is between the first and the last, but the key people that have the power in this case that can allow or prohibit that to happen are the people in the middle. So through this one game, you can discuss so many different things, but you choose where do you want to keep the focus, or if you want to touch upon all the elements. So it's up to you as an instructor. Any questions regarding run? Or comments? No? Okay. Principal fight. Principal fight, it's, as you see, there are only 2 blocks. But you remember the list of physical techniques, it's really long. Principles of self-defense are very important to be explained. And we also have some games that we can combine. So the idea is not to necessarily have one game for each principle. I would not recommend that. But depending on the goal of the class, you can choose the right game that serves you for the different pieces of the class. For instance, if I'm using, let's say, in this class, I want to touch upon bystander interventions. And then I want to bystander interventions for verbal communication, for physical techniques, etc. Then I choose a game that has to do with bystanders. If I am willing to work, for instance, let's say, let me see, ground techniques, then I will choose a game that helps me for principal, think and yell and tal, but also for falling safely. For instance, the safe drop game is good for that, or protect the watermelon, or tag your partner while being on the ground. So you choose the game that can serve you for the different principles you want to explain during that class. Games to explain the principles of self-defense are clothespins game, stickers. Stickers are weak points and strong points. The participants are divided in two groups or more, and they have to put stickers to one person from the group to indicate where are the strong points or where are the weak points. Unconventional weapons is you have a bunch of things that you throw in the middle of the circle. They have to choose one of those objects, and then they have to tell how would they use it for self-defense. Just like this is normally a game you do at the end, for instance. Principles of self-defense. You practice grabs, releases. There are also, for instance, games like Save the Balloon, etc. And the principles of self-defense that you want to emphasize during the explanations is the element of surprise. It is the use of full power 100% because you don't know if you have another chance to strike. Importance of using the voice. Objective is not revenge. It's not to beat up the other person. It is to disrupt and leave to safety as soon as possible. So these are some of the principles that we want to instill in the participants. And these points are important because sometimes, especially if, and now, I mean, we are working with girls and boys, like all genders, and with LGBTI groups, etc. So what we want to make sure is that if in the group there are students that sometimes they are the perpetrators, we are also educating them. So that's why these kind of principles are important to keep them, to keep in mind this, that we, in the same group, we can have people that at a certain point can be the aggressor or the perpetrator. It can be, sorry, if there are families, if there are mothers that are ill-treating their children, you know, that they're being abusive to their children, maybe they are victims of abuse, but maybe they are also being verbally abusive, let's say, best case scenario, to their children. So how do we work with that in a class as well? So second block, physical techniques. The way we do it usually, it's we explain or demonstrate what's going on, what we'll practice, and then the participants practice it in the air, with pads, without pads, depending what kind of technique it is. There are games, but for physical techniques, I prefer to focus and not consider it as a game. If we are doing role plays or simulations, we have to be very clear about the rules or very clear about the instructions so that the situation, the role play doesn't get out of hand, because there might be cases where participants can get carried out, can bring situations that are triggering for the other participants. The adrenaline maybe plays an important role, and then instead of keeping it at verbal skills, they might answer with physical skills. So one has to be really careful when setting the stage for a role play. Again, in the seminar, we'll have specific workshops for the role play, and that is going to be super helpful for all instructors, young and old instructors. We are going to have a specific workshop only for role plays. The games, oh yeah, now I remember what I wanted to say before. When we are using games that can help us for what we will explain later in physical techniques, remember I said about linking, for instance, if I'm going to work today with strangulations, I want to bring the game that is called zombie game, because that breaks the ice so that people are playing with each other, putting hands on the throat, and that breaks the ice. So if this strangulation practice, it's uneasy for someone, by playing first, it helps be smoother the process with the techniques itself that are more physical and it's pure training. Another one is to learn when I said to learn how to fall safely, for instance, or there is another called the sandbag, etc. So all these, this is the idea of connecting, you know. Okay. One game that can be also used, another game that I haven't mentioned, is Bodyguard, and this can be with or without hula hoops, as you can see in the pictures. So there are 3 or 4 participants grabbed by the hand. There is one person outside the circle that has to tag the one standing in front, and the other participants from the group. So if, wait, where is it? So in this, here, do you see my blue dot moving? If you have the, if this girl, let's say this girl is the one that has to be tagged. So the girl with the gray trousers has to tag the person in front. And the role of the guys here is to protect so that this person with the gray trousers does not tag the person in front. And by this game, we can break the ice because they have to move a lot, and it's like a good warm-up. And then we can discuss about how important the role of bystanders is and how people that are around us can help us in determined situations to prevent situations of violence. The zombie game, it is what I mentioned before. So there is one first zombie in the group who walks like a zombie and everything. And the objective is to tag or catch the persons around, but this zombie cannot run, obviously. So if the person, the zombie, manages to touch the other friends from the group, that person joins the zombie. So it's converted. So one by one, they play and they see who's the last one. But so the function of this game, the most important one for me, it can be run, of course, but it's fight, and it's connected to the strangulations or other grabs that we want to practice as physical techniques. Principle tell. I will continue, yeah, if there are no comments, or, yeah. Principle tell is very important. Sometimes we don't have enough time, especially if these are short sessions, like let's say 2 hours or 3 hours, and then you never see this group again. So I combine the circles with a principle tell, or I combine the discussion we do after the game or after a physical technique to work principle tell, okay? Because I have to combine it this way because I might not have the time to organize specific activities for tell. Blocks that are important, it is the explanation of principle tell. I put emphasis there in no blaming, no judging, no shaming. And this is important because in some cultures, in some countries, in societies, there is this victim blaming culture. So it's a good moment to talk about it and to address it. And also we want to emphasize that in any case, the responsibility stands with the perpetrator. And this is something that some organizations or some institutions might be against empowerment self-defense as a method because they say, oh, we have to deal with the perpetrators. by teaching this to women and girls, we are kind of assuming that they are the victims, and we are assuming that the responsibility is for them to defend themselves and so on. So there are also statements like this. That is not our case. We believe that every person has the right to defend themselves, and that it's a basic thing everybody should know. The same thing we swim, same like we learn to walk, same like we learn to write. It is the minimum to know how to build healthy relationships, how to set my boundaries, how to communicate properly, how to defend even physically if I have to, because it's my right to defend my body and myself. So we want to emphasize these points as well in our trainings. The TEL formula, it's another tool that we teach, and that is with, again, 3 elements. First, I say you can use other words, right? But thank you for sharing this with me, or thank you for sharing what has happened to you, and so on. Second element is you tell how do you feel about what she's telling you or what he's telling you. So I'm sorry that this has happened to you. You can choose your own words. And the third element is, instead of giving ideas, recommendations, instructions, what to do, actually you make an open question, and is there anything I can do for you? How can I help you? How can I support you? So that, why? Because this is an empowering way, because the choice remains with the person that has lived that situation, because we don't know that context. We don't know the risks she might be facing, and so on. So giving an open question, it's better because we do not limit her choices. You can always share your experience. You can always refer to, let's say, to available institutions or organizations that can be of help, professionals that can be of help, etc. But the choice has to be made by the person affected and not by you as the helper or the supporter. Okay, that is the goal of this communication TEL formula. The TEL formula, we use small circles, very simple scenarios, or we can use simulations and role plays. So it depends how much time you have and how deep you want to work the principle TEL. When it comes to the talk and listen, we also work on the listening component. So we talk about the 4 types of listening, and we can do also role plays for that. Skills to listeners, we can exercise in pairs, all at the same time or one after the other, so that group can hear. We can do simulations of situations in order to practice. And another component is the bystanders. You can, again, use games and combine them with role plays when it comes to the TEL, especially because many times, especially for the young ages, but not only, that people are more prone to tell to their best friend or to somebody from their group rather than report the case to a police office or to some other authority for whatever reason that can be super valid. But the thing is that there is no proper support provided. And so how to encourage that third persons that know about a certain situation can also stand up and can also take some action. So that is the idea of bystanders and the principle TEL. The 4 types of listening, we have this, one of the instructors of ESD has worked this division, which is automatic, like listening but without paying much attention, typical with the mobiles checking or watching TV and the other is talking, and so it's not really paying attention. Repetitive is better than automatic listening, but again, we're just repeating what the other person is saying and remaining there. So we are following carefully what the other person is saying, listening, but not doing anything more. The third is emotional, and that is we are listening, we are thinking how this person feels, and we repeat. Now, this is important because we're paying attention to the feelings, but again, it remains there. So we are not really being supportive enough to this person. And there it takes us to the fourth type of listening, which is the responsive one. And this is the one we want to cultivate, which is to understand properly, like repeat, and that means pay attention to the other person, what he or she is saying, to understand it and understand how the person feels, like the emotional component. But we also add what we said earlier, the third element, what can I help you with? What can I support you with? And so on. So once we explain these four types of listening, and maybe they can bring more examples, the participants, we can practice and we can split the participants in pairs for them to practice the different forms of listening, or you want to choose and say only be responsive. It's up to you. How do you want to develop that activity? But this is like a very good activity because it's very real in what happens with us day to day. You have many times even parents that are always busy, they are always with their phone or with something, and the child is desperately asking for the attention, telling something that has happened and so on, and maybe they are not receiving a good responsive listening from their parent, for instance. So these are things that you may want to discuss with the group, depending who the group is. The principle tell, I said I combine it with the circles if I have to. But another very good game, especially if you're working with survivors or with staff that works for survivors or with survivors of violence, gender-based violence included, it is when you organize like a simulation where the group has to be one person from the group remains outside the classroom and the rest of the group inside. They have chosen two supporters, the ones that will respond with a tell formula to the person that will be joining at the end. The person comes into the room and he's supposed to approach the individuals from the group and tell them a story that has to be, does not have to be his or her personal story. Tells a story where there has been a boundary crossing or an abusive situation or sexual harassment or something like that, and has to see what the other person will do. And the participants can choose to react in one of the forms we just said. One can be automatic, the other can totally ignore maybe the person that is talking. Others can be repetitive, others can be emotional, and only the two chosen ones can be responsive. So this is an experience that you can afterwards discuss, and it is very important to see for these people how hard it is to be in the shoes of a person that has been survivor of violence, and how it happens when they go to an institution and they don't have the support they are supposed to have, or the attention that they are supposed to have, and so on. So this is a good exercise, but it takes like minimum 20-30 minutes to play it. But it's a deeper exercise, so I really like it. Yep, so those are the 5 principles. And now it makes more sense when you look at the different blocks. Let me see, this is other session. So this is what I had prepared for today, hoping to be able to profundizar, to go a little bit deeper when it comes to the explanation. Hi, Ala, you're there. I had not seen you.
Hello. Ihre Name. Hello. I speak English a little bit. I speak Russian, Ukrainisch und lerne Deutsch und study Deutsch and study Deutsch.
Good.
But I understand what you say. Yes, but my English is not so.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm 2 years.
Ich kann
I
übersetzen, wenn
haven't
du
nicht.
Englisch sprechen willst.
Ah?
Ich kann übersetzen, wenn du Deutsch sprechen willst.
Okay, yes. Ich verstehe alle, was Gentina ja, hat gesagt, ja, und wenn you have, wenn sie hat questions oder Fragen, I can answer, ja, but yes.
Okay. Thank you
It's
much.
ein bisschen Mischung, Mix.
So, first of all, welcome to the group because it's first time you connect.
Thank you.
And I'd like first to ask if there are any questions or comments from what we have seen together so far from this session.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you. But tomorrow I was at this training. Yes, I little teach. Yeah, with Irina Ilan. Ja, with Irina Ilan. Ja, und das zwei Jahre, 2 Jahre.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yes, und I I know was bedeutet oder was bedeutet.
What it means.
Ja, what is mean? Ja, diese Principle, ja, to say, yes, to avoid oder to go, yes,
Okay.
to fight.
Okay.
Yes, I understand. Und I would really like to join this meeting. Yes.
Awesome.
Und
Thank you.
excuse me for my
Okay.
Deutsch.
Thank you, Ala. Don't worry.
English.
It's good. Thank you. Catalina, Tamsin, Linela, and Lina, do you have any questions or comments for the moment?
No, actually, some of the exercises we've all already practiced them,
Mm-hmm.
and for me, were not they were not unfamiliar.
Yes.
Thank you for your time and presentation, Genta.
Oh, thank you as well.
Yeah, thank you so much. The game is really interesting. I didn't know about the different types of listening. It's very interesting for me.
Okay.
And
Awesome. Oops, maybe the phone fell. For sure, she will join again. Any other comments or questions or ideas?
It is interesting welche oder
Which
Spieler, which toy nicht
games?
was?
Games?
Games, yeah, we would
Use?
yes, play.
Yeah. Yeah.
Und nicht, wie you play, I understand, aber but we wie should wir lernen oder geht, ja, wie sagen, вести.
It's don't so Ala, the more you speak, the more you will be able to improve your English, right?
Yes, I know.
So don't feel bad about difficulties that you face when speaking in English. What we can also use is there are tools that help us I think there is an option for Zoom meetings to have translation, or you can use Google Translate. You write your phrase in
Окей,
Google
I
and
know.
the chat to
А,
do.
Я хотела спросить, какие игры мы будем вести, и, возможно, мы можем к ним подготовиться уже сейчас. I wanted to ask what games we will be playing and if we can perhaps prepare for them now.
Good. Yay! It works. Okay. So right now, you
Мгм,
will only you are only receiving information.
мгм,
I am not asking you to play a game or to facilitate a game in the seminar. You don't need to worry about that
мгм,
because in the seminar you will practice more. You'll practice games, you'll practice role plays, you'll practice physical techniques the way we teach them in ESD.
мгм,
After that, you can start practicing as instructor.
мгм. Yes, thank you very much.
Welcome.
Und я, noch einmal, я также хотела сказать, что у меня есть дощечка и лапа. Возможно, их нужно привести. Ein letzte question. Yeah. I also wanted to say that I have a board and a paw. Perhaps they should be brought to the seminar.
For now, no need. I will tell you once we know the final number of participants because we are people signing up again
Mhm.
today. Two more
Yes.
are planning to join, so it's kind of yay.
Mhm.
I will
Okay.
tell you if we need you to bring your pads.
Okay.
I will.
Thank you, liebe Gentiana.
You're
Yeah.
welcome. All right. Should we call it off? Can you tell me a thumbs up? How was the session today?
Great, great.
Okay, I'm glad
Great.
to see that. Okay, I don't want to
Yes.
take more time from you. So thank you very much. Have a
Yes.
beautiful evening.
Thank
And
you. Thank you.
till next Sunday.
Bye. Take care. Have a
Bye.
great week, everyone.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.